As a district attorney, she has become one of the more talked about politicians in all of Massachusetts. Suffolk County DA Rachael Rollins joins us now. Rachael Rollins, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it. Let's start with the case of In Young Yu. This is the former Boston College student. Your office has charged her, accusing her of pressuring her boyfriend to kill himself. She allegedly sent hundreds of text messages to BC student Alexander Urtula, urging him to commit suicide. And in fact, your office says that she was present when he did jump off a building the day of his graduation from Boston College. Why did you decide to pursue this case?
Yeah, so we at first thought this was just a tragedy, and the good work of the MBTA police and others, after looking at the Mr. Urtula's phone, saw just some really concerning information. Thousands of texts, 47,000 texts approximately. So what was really clear to us was that we did not just have a suicide on our hands. We had somebody who we believe, and a grand jury returned indictments, was manipulating and influencing this person and essentially beating them down mentally very, very often. It's just a really sad situation. There
will be free speech advocates who say she didn't push him off the building, she didn't hand him a weapon, she used speech, and that's protected by the First Amendment. What would be your response to that?
Yeah, I mean, these cases aren't easy. And we saw with Michelle Carter, which is a case, again, out of Massachusetts, where a judge found that she was responsible, and the Supreme Judicial Court just upheld that. So we have pending legislation right now where assisted suicide essentially would be a crime in and of itself, and there wouldn't have to be manslaughter charges brought. So we are watching that very closely, but the behavior we believed was egregious and criminal, and we do what's right, whether it's easy or not, and we believe a jury is going to make a determination in the future.
You traveled last week to South Carolina to interview Senator Elizabeth Warren about criminal justice reform specifically. One of the issues you discussed with Senator Warren is safe injection sites or safe consumption sites. This is where drug addicts could go and have a safe place under supervision to take certain drugs. Why do you support those?
So I think what I'd love you to hear me say is, Liam, if the option is we're going to do nothing and keep it just the way that it is, or we're going to say yes to something that you might have a lot of questions about, but we're going to keep the conversation going, I'm always going to be a yes. And what I like to remind people is, as DA, I'm the one that gets the phone call when people are overdosing and dying. It's not the governor, it's not the attorney general, it's not the U.S. attorney, it's the district attorneys, it's the state police and the local police that are finding these people, and they are suffering from a health issue, right? And so for me, what I look at is nothing should be off the table.
People in Boston will potentially look at a place like Methadone Mile, where there have been recent reports of violence and issues in that area, and they'll be concerned about having more of those places around the state. What do you say to people who have that concern?
Yeah, so we had an incident where a corrections officer was attacked, and as a result of that, there was some police activity called Operation Clean Sweep. What I can tell you is the individuals that attacked that corrections officer have been held accountable by my office. The police arrested them, we had them arraigned, and they were charged with the violent crimes that they had committed. But Liam, there were a lot of other people there that are suffering from a substance use disorder, which is a health issue. And so if you were charged with possession, rather than putting you in Nashua Street or South Bay, I would rather get you a bed and get you the treatment that you desperately need.
You faced some criticism recently after the Straight Pride Parade in Boston. Some of the protesters were arrested for crimes ranging from disorderly conduct to assaulting officers. You dropped some of the charges. That became a court battle. Why did you drop those charges?
So, first and foremost, the individuals that assaulted our law enforcement officers were held accountable. They were arraigned and they were charged. The individuals that don't have a criminal record, that were exercising their First Amendment rights to protest, whether I agree with what they're saying or not is irrelevant. But if they were not violent, or if the police reports were not complete enough for us to sustain the charges, then I'm never going to prosecute those cases.
But some police officers will argue what's the point for them enforcing the laws if you're not then going to prosecute? How do you respond to that?
I would respond back, if you follow through their analysis, then what is my job? Is it that everyone you arrest, I have to prosecute? Am I a rubber stamp for the police? The police aren't elected. Remember that. The commissioner who's doing, we work very well together, he's appointed by the mayor. The mayor's elected, not the commissioner. And so police officers use their discretion every day, Liam. They do hard work. They see somebody, they tell them, hey, put that away. I'm going to let you go with a warning right now. Anyone who's had a speeding ticket and got let off with a warning, that was a police officer utilizing their discretion. For whatever reason, judges use their discretion every day. Police officers and judges, neither of whom are elected, love questioning my ability to use my prosecutorial discretion. And I'm elected. The people of Suffolk County overwhelmingly supported what it is I'm saying that I'm doing. None of these people that have questions about what I'm doing were elected.
One final topic I wanted to ask you about. You just got a conviction against the owner of Atlantic Drain. Two men died 3 years ago in a trench collapse. It then filled with water, and these two men died who were workers of Atlantic Drain. You charged the owner and you charged the company involved. What was your thinking behind that prosecution?
Well, first and foremost, Mr. Higgins and Mr. Maddox were hardworking, decent men. They did a job every day of literally digging trenches, incredibly hard work, died unnecessarily because Mr. Otto wanted to cut corners and save money and not be safe. I can't take full credit for this. District Attorney Dan Conley charged this case prior to me becoming the DA, and I'm proud that he did. We want contractors to know if you're going to be cutting corners and putting your employees' safety at risk, we're going to be prosecuting you.
Suffolk County District Attorney Rachael Rollins, thank you so much. We appreciate having you on.
Thank you, Liam.